This episode of Dispatches from Planet Albany is brought to you with support by New York State United Teachers, which represents more than 600,000 educators and school-related professionals in New York. Dispatches is also supported by the public affairs firm O'Donnell & Associates. For more information, check out o'donnellsolutions.com.
This episode is also brought to you by Citizens for Affordable Rates. New York's car insurance costs are nearly double the national average, and state lawmakers must take action to make driving more affordable. Learn more at citizensforaffordablerates.com.
Senator Assembly Member Weprin.
I got demoted.
Well, you never ran for this one. I think you've run for others, but never mind.
I've also declared war on potholes, so here's the first shot across the bow.
Well, as you know, with Planet Albany, there's always something that makes the planet turn.
And it's this amazing view of D.C., and Eddie Vedder comes out. And he goes, "You have a cigarette?" And I've never smoked in my life, but if I had, I wish that was the moment.
And this strategy takes us from potholes to knotholes.
I would like to say it was a pleasure, Mr. Kim. But I'm on the road.
I'm David Lombardo, and this is Dispatches from Planet Albany, a podcast about power and policy in New York State government. And on this episode, we're exploring the pathway to jobs in the orbit of Planet Albany, and specifically considering how a stop at the Rockefeller College may influence your career trajectory, in light of how many lobbying, capital, and other state government-related positions are filled by people with a degree or program certificate from the UAlbany College. And to make the case for enrolling at the Rockefeller College of Public Affairs and Policy, we're joined by the college's Director of Career Services and Employer Relations, Ashley Dwyer. Welcome to the show, Ashley.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And we're also going to hear from Patricia Strach, a professor of political science and public administration and policy at the Rockefeller College. Thanks for visiting us, Patricia.
Thanks, David, for having us.
So for the uninitiated or ignorant, like myself, what degrees and programs does Rockefeller College offer which may set someone up on a pathway to a job in Planet Albany? And do you have a sense of where some of your alumni have ended up in and around this building we're talking in?
So Rockefeller offers degree paths and career paths within a few different areas that help them kind of navigate a path within opportunities like you're mentioning. So we offer undergraduate and graduate degrees in public administration and policy, international affairs, criminal justice, political science. We offer that at the undergraduate, graduate, like master's and PhD level as well. So certainly there's some versatility there in terms of what students want to narrow their focus in and how it applies to their career path.
I don't think students really know what they want. And so when you think about a career path, I think there's a lot of pressure on an 18-year-old to say, this is what I want to do when I'm done. And so I think part of what we do at Rockefeller College is help students figure out what's the right path to the career they want and what's the right career that they want. So sometimes that's doing things like an internship at the assembly, which then you say, like, I love the assembly, or no, this is not my cup of tea. I want to work for an agency of some sort. So I think what we're trying to do is, it sounds really overwhelming to know both what you want to do and how to get there, is to help students figure that piece out.
Yeah, and what makes Rockefeller unique, I guess, is that some of these programs have required internships, and the ones that don't are strongly encouraged to engage in those. So it's really there's a heavy focus on not just learning the material from an academic standpoint, but applying that through experiential learning opportunities like the New York State Senate and Assembly, et cetera. And we have direct pipelines into those opportunities, just partially based on strong employer relationships, but very much based on location, too.
Well, yeah. Are those unique pipelines? Because I'm trying to think about what is the added benefit of going to Rockefeller College versus, say, Siena, which is also in the Planet Albany area, but maybe doesn't have the same connections, especially considering if you walk around the LOB and look at the charts of how many people are SUNY grads, in particular UAlbany grads, it's a hefty list that begins to add up. So is there an added benefit of the Rockefeller College versus, say, other institutions that might have proximity on their side as well?
I think we have a close relationship with government. So in part because of the size of Rockefeller College and the number of alums that we have. I teach a class that brings in those alums into the classroom, and what's remarkable is how quickly they respond, right? These are very busy people in very high positions, and they want to give back, and they want to say, They want to tell students about their experience. And so I think one of the things is the strong relationship with employers here, but also with alums who are very willing and very open and want to share their experience with the students that we have.
Do you want to name drop some people, Patricia?
No, but I'll let Ashley do that.
I don't know if I want to necessarily do that just for their own preference, but
I'm sure they're proud of it. I'm sure they want to know the affiliation out there.
Yeah, there's certainly a large amount of alum, that are coming out of our program. And just to kind of go off of what Patty said, I think, well, interestingly enough, I went to Siena, so I'm like, for my undergraduate degree, so I'm like, well, that's a challenging question to answer, what differentiates it. But no, Rockefeller does offer, it's a college within the university, and it's a niche in that it's hyper-focused on these kind of areas that relate to career opportunities in government. And so I think that's a unique aspect of UAlbany as well, is that they're under the larger umbrella of the UAlbany Research Institution, but they have that kind of niche focus from their professors and staff, et cetera, alumni who help them attain those kind of career opportunities. And so, yeah, that's certainly unique too.
Can we flesh out that relationship a little bit more? Because it's the Rockefeller College at the university at Albany. So am I applying to UAlbany and then applying to the Rockefeller College of Public Affairs and Policy? If I'm a student at UAlbany, can I take some classes at Rockefeller College while not necessarily maybe pursuing a public affairs or policy degree? What is that relationship, and how much maybe autonomy does the college have? I mean, can you tell President Javidan Rodriguez, hey, go buzz off?
No, we can never do that.
Never.
One thing we can do, though, is that UAlbany has over 17,000 students. So that's a really big college environment. And within the university, Rockefeller College is a small portion of that. Mm-hmm. And so how do students interact with Rockefeller College? If they know they want to be a political science, public policy, criminal justice major, they can declare that major and then they're in. But a lot of our students are actually coming from this broader pipeline. So our introductory courses are all the general eds for UAlbany. So students might just say, hey, I'm interested in American politics, or I have to take an international class. And so they'll learn about and they'll interact with Rockefeller College for the first time through these large introductory courses.
And then a good portion of those undergrads, and Patty can, I'm sure, speak to this, will go on to graduate level programs. And, we have different pathways for them to do that. And so to Patricia's point, they'll start and kind of explore those options. And then as they kind of continue through the undergraduate program, they might have a little bit more of a focus in pursuing some of the graduate programs, which will get even more focused in their area of interest.
So to make this more about me, which is, I guess, the prerogative of having your own show, I went to SUNY Geneseo, and the political science professor that I connected with the most was a professor who had previously worked for Congressman Dick Gephardt, and at the time, because it's now 20 years ago, that was still relevant and timely experience. And I wonder how you go about ensuring that you have a staff that is relevant and timely in terms of the knowledge that they bring, and it's not necessarily like, boy, here's what the Hugh Carey administration was like, and they don't necessarily know Andrew Cuomo as opposed to Mario Cuomo. Is that an issue that you deal with, and if so, how do you approach it?
I think we deal with that two ways. And the first way is there's a lot of very kind of practice-focused people at Rockefeller College. Mm-hmm. So those are people who don't just love sitting in their office and looking at spreadsheets all the time. They like to be involved, and their research has direct applicability. So they'll be working on a project, and they'll want to interact with policymakers. And so they are familiar with the names that you'll see down in the Capitol. And the other way we do it is that we hire adjuncts to teach our courses. So we have this great pool of people who have practical experience. We get them a lot in the fall semester because the spring semester is so busy.
I bet.
And in the spring semester, we're placing our students in the internships that a lot of them run. So what we're doing is we're kind of keeping new ideas rolling through that way, through people's direct experience and their interest in applied policy, and through bringing in people who have kind of practical experience. And students love those courses.
As a follow-up to that, I would say from the career angle is that we host a myriad of programs every year that involve not only employers but alumni, as we've mentioned, spanning from career fairs to employer information sessions to career skills workshops to particular panels. And we're basing that off of information and data that we're receiving about where students are going for jobs and internships. So we're trying to kind of tailor those programs to the evolving market. And so those are incredible opportunities for the students to network and to gain exposure and meet policymakers. And so, so that we hope we really work to kind of target that each semester accordingly.
Some challenges need someone who simply won't quit. Modern advocacy brings tenacity, strategy, and unwavering follow-through to every client it serves. Learn more at modernadvocacyllc.com. What about the grad school case to be made? Because, again, bringing it back to myself, journalism school, there's a debate around how useful it is and whether it makes sense to spend money on J-School or to just try to get a local reporting job. And I err on the side of it's better to earn some money, get that experience, unless you can get into Columbia or Northwestern, which, opens up some doors for you that SUNY Geneseo undergrad does not. How do you try to guide students when they make that calculation about the graduate school future and whether that makes more sense or whether it makes more sense to get a low-level assembly job or to start out in an executive agency?
So I direct the undergraduate program in political science, and we spend a lot of time thinking about how students get from being, a 17, 18-year-old who doesn't get to choose their classes, doesn't get to choose where they sit, doesn't get to choose their books, to suddenly...
Pretty much, that's a dictatorship over there.
Well, no, from high school, right?
Oh,
where they're really being told exactly what they have to do, and then they step on a college campus, and people are like, okay, now what do you want to do with the rest of your life? Mm-hmm. And so we're really trying to give them the tools that they need to figure that out. And the one thing that we're really careful about is a lot of students come in my office and they say, I want to go to law school. Yeah. And I say, that's a $300,000 investment.
You can send them to my dad, and he will tell them, do not go to law school.
Well,
he talked me out of it.
Mine as well, by the way. Yeah.
Some come to that conclusion. Like, so do you want a good job, a stable job, you get a vacation, you have a house, a car, a good life, or do you want to be a lawyer? And they're like, actually, professor,
those aren't
those
exclusive.
So, or do you want to be a lawyer that does those things? And a lot of times they'll say to me, oh, professor, I just want a good job. And I think, a lawyer or a teacher or a doctor are the ways into that. And so what we have to do is to say, look, here's all these jobs and here's how you get them. So we do talk a lot about graduate school and what are the right graduate programs, or even if graduate programs are right at all. But the thing they need to do is have the experience, right? So when you're, I worked for a U.S. Senator, right? And
Who'd you work for?
Dianne Feinstein, 36th floor of an office building with no windows. And I said, I never want to do this again, right? And sometimes it's the things that you think like I want to work in politics. And sometimes it's the things that you don't. I don't want to put somebody else's name at the bottom of every document I write.
Right.
So having that experience, even if they hate it, if they hate the internship they're doing, it's a good lesson. That's not where they want to invest their time.
I tell students that all the time. I'm like, there is a power in disqualifiers. Like, you are going to go into an experience. Yes, this is a requirement, this internship. It may seem like something you have to check off or get done, but oftentimes when they're in that experience, they're going to find out one way or the other through that exposure, like, this is something I want to do or this is something I don't. And those are conversations that me and my staff have with the students as career advisors all the time. And often, to Patricia's point, they just think going to law school or to grad school is the next step. And for some, that's the right step. And for some, it isn't. And it's a matter of having conversations and breaking down, well, why do you want to do that? Where is that coming from? What's the ultimate goal? And you can kind of talk to them about different timelines and opportunities that they can pursue. I mean, we have students who come right out of the undergrad swiftly. And so those conversations are a little bit more imperative to some extent. And we certainly have non-traditional students, too. So, for those particular students, we've worked with them. Some of them have 10, 15, 20 years of experience, and they're coming back to get the MPA, for example, to just advance themselves professionally. We are fortunate in that we have a lot of kind of connections, and so we're kind of, certainly being super competitive in some of these programs with the Assembly and Senate. We're getting a lot of our students are able to kind of secure those opportunities. But at the same token, it can be a competitive industry. And so sometimes if students are looking to kind of advance, whether it's right out of college and they know that that's what they want to do, or whether it's down the line, those could be the right time for them to pursue those kind of graduate level opportunities. But it's individual, and they should be making the decision based on, what is best for them and their future goals. And that could be pursuing a job now and pursuing the MPA later, for example. I'm just mentioning the MPA as one example, or doing it right out of college, and it just depends.
Well, with the caveat that this is going to be a personal choice and not everyone is going to need to follow the same trajectory. I look at LinkedIn and my first connections and people who have Rockefeller College of Public Affairs in their background, and it's powerful lobbyists, it's legislative staffers, it's people at agencies, it's people at some of the stakeholders that are constantly kicking around this hallway. So are there types of jobs that you have found where the graduate degree is basically a prerequisite and that it opens doors for them? Or are there some jobs where you even tell people, you know what, you don't need this, you've got 3 years of legislative experience, you know how the legislative process works, or you know how regulations are written, so maybe the master's in XYZ field isn't right for you. But are there some cases where you're like, yeah, no, this is definitely the prerequisite to getting another job?
I think the master's degree, so when they're hiring, right, they're looking for a particular level. Do they want a bachelor's degree, and do they want a master's degree, or do they want a specific kind of master's degree or a JD, like a specific kind? And so if you know, for example, that you want to get a job at this particular level, right, this particular pay level, then maybe going for a master's right away is the right thing for you. But if you don't know exactly what you want to do, if you want a master's in public policy, a master's in public administration, a master's in business administration, a law degree, then it makes sense to work for a couple of years so that you're investing in the right degree and not just getting a degree to have a degree and then changing your mind. Like I always tell my students, if you don't know what you want to do and you get a law degree, you can't change your mind and then decide you want to be a fourth grade teacher. Because that's a very expensive.
Yeah, so you'd be a fourth grade teacher with a lot of loans.
Yeah, with a lot of loans that you're never going to pay off. Or, but you could go the other way, right? You could, become a teacher and then change your mind that you want to become a lawyer. So you just want to make sure, not that we're trying to get people to buy lots of degrees that they don't need, but we want to make sure that they're choosing the degree that's going to get them where they want to go.
Yeah, I mean, in certain opportunities are more competitive than others, and so having that advanced degree will help them attain that position. Is it always required? Not necessarily. Will it help them? Yes, especially if they're kind of very focused. I mean, so for example, opportunities in the federal government tend to be more competitive than state and local. Obviously, there's a shifting market right now in the federal government with, previous federal hiring and funding freezes, so that, is shifting currently. But generally speaking, if they're looking to pursue some of those opportunities that tend to be more competitive, having that advanced degree is helpful. But again, it goes back to it's an individual decision, and they should not, kind of jump to that decision until they're pretty sure. I always tell students, graduate school it's a time and financial investment. If you're going to invest that time and that, that financial aspect, you want to make sure it's what you want to do. It's more focused than your undergrad degree. So yeah, I would say that we have a semester in Washington program that's phenomenal. It's a spring internship program every spring where students go down to DC and intern. And so that's been an excellent pipeline into some opportunities down in DC that can be more competitive as well.
A lot of times what we find with that is that students want to come back and work for the state instead.
Yeah.
Right? Do you want to be a little fish in a big pond, or do you want to play a bigger role? Not that New York State government is small, but do you want to play a bigger role in maybe advancing things that you care about in the state where you're from? So a lot of students come back after doing the DC program.
Yeah, we have a few fellowship programs too that require the graduate degree too. So there's a graduate legislative fellowship right here with the New York State Senate that we work with. There's also the Excelsior Service Fellowship that requires that graduate degree, whether it's master's or PhD. So yeah, and those are really great programs where we're partner schools for those. So if they want to be considered for those, they do have to pursue the master's. But, again, it's definitely individual, personal. Like you said, it's a personal decision.
So for people who don't have an experience with the Rockefeller College or aren't familiar with the Rockefeller Institute of Government, are we ever going to get some new names or maybe get people to fight to the death for use of Rockefeller, because I think there's a lot of confusion about what is what, who does what, who has domain over everything. Do you guys ever encounter this? Is this just a Dave Lombardo? I mean, you're shaking your head, Patricia, so I assume this is a real issue.
Yeah, well, it's a real issue because you'll go down and you'll tell somebody you're from the Rockefeller College, and then they think we have lots of money because we're like the Rockefeller University, or over at Dartmouth, they're Rockefeller too. So they'll think that we're somebody that we're not. So there is confusion kind of out there. But Rockefeller Institute of Government is part of SUNY too. So
Do you ever use that confusion to your benefit? Because I'm employed by WCNY, which also could sound like WNYC, the largest public radio station in New York City, and I never correct anyone when they introduce me that way, because I'm like, I could be from the biggest public radio station and not the central New York one.
Yeah, you're like, sure.
Yeah. So
why not?
Maybe Dartmouth, if it helps. Is that ever something that just, you don't correct them?
No, I don't think so.
No, if anything, we help them try to, understand what's offered for them. But yeah, and I understand the temptation. But yeah,
and I've heard you all being described as the Dartmouth of the Capital Region, so that makes sense. You've never heard that, Patricia?
No, I've never heard that.
You got to get out in these streets a little more.
I heard we were Berkeley on the Hudson, but I never heard Dartmouth of the Capital Region.
Well, good luck making that stick in the future. Anything else you think people should take away from the Rockefeller College, aside from the fact it's not the Rockefeller Institute of Government?
I think it's very easy to walk through the doors of Rockefeller College, and I don't even mean that
like physically?
Physically.
Yeah, where is it located?
We're on the downtown campus. We're right up the street.
Yep.
From here.
Good proximity.
Good proximity.
Exactly.
Where do your interns park then if they have an internship at the legislature?
I want to say that you did lead me astray with the parking today. So.
I did? In what way?
There was no parking on the street.
Oh, well, I didn't did I tell you there would be parking?
Yes.
I claimed there would be parking on a session day?
Apparently.
I somehow got a parking spot on the street.
It's possible that your comms person is using directions that I gave in an off year time and is just recycling them. Much like how your curriculum changes in the fall versus the spring semesters, you have to approach the parking situation with that same awareness.
I knew that would happen.
So do you have parking for your interns?
For the interns,
who do the legislative program?
I think a lot of interns take the bus.
Yeah,
they do.
Frankly, it's much easier.
That's what I did when I was an intern for the Legislative Gazette from Saratoga.
It's free for SUNY Albany students to take the CDTA. So it's often I've heard a lot of them will park on our downtown campus and just hop on the bus and just head downtown. So it's a lot easier for them to deal with that because we have parking lots available to them not far from where they're interning.
But Patricia, you were talking about the physical and metaphorical doors.
Yeah, so if someone's interested in Rockefeller College, they could obviously go to the website. But we have this Lunch and Learn series that we have having our faculty talk about current issues about once a week.
Yep.
So it's not hard if somebody just wants to tune in and listen and say oh, here's something I'm interested in. Who are these people that are going to be teaching me? Because I think another thing is you want to have the right fit, and you want to know that those people who are talking about issues are talking about the kinds of things that you think are important in the ways that you think they're important.
You had me at free food.
There's no real lunch because it's online.
What?
Bring your...
It's just like a kind of
Patricia, I thought we were building up
metaphorical
some trust in this
conversation.
conversation.
You're looking for money, and you should be looking at Dartmouth.
Lunch and learn. Oh, boy.
Bring your own lunch.
Yeah. BYOL. Bring your own lunch. Yeah, I mean, every time I'm at an admissions event, I'm always speaking to students and parents about, we're here specifically because, we know that the Capitol is right in the backyard, and we want to talk about these internships. So, I mean, that is a point that really draws in students and faculty. I think just one kind of, going back to what you said, the weight and the worth of pursuing a graduate degree. I mean, one of the things that makes Rockefeller unique too is, one, the flexibility. We offer students a lot of flexibility in terms of how they're going to pursue that degree, how long they're going to take to pursue it, certificate programs if they're not feeling like the full MPA, for example, is the right fit. But what's also unique is that they're getting this, pretty high quality education at a pretty affordable cost. So there's certainly more of a return on that investment.
We're talking just traditional SUNY prices?
Yeah, I'm talking like state university prices, right? And so
there's no markup for the Rockefeller name?
No, I mean, no, not
Nice.
to my knowledge. It's it's a similar kind of cost. So they're getting kind of that. It's certainly a helpful aspect for students as they're considering kind of that portion, like like you mentioned. So.
Well, we've been speaking with Ashley Dwyer. She is the Director of Career Services and Employer Relations at the Rockefeller College of Public Affairs and Policy. We've also been hearing from Patricia Strach. She is a Professor of Political Science and Public Administration and Policy at the college. Thank you both for weathering the parking challenges and making it here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.